France is voting in the first round of its presidential election, with opinion polls suggesting President Macron is narrowly ahead of the far-right candidate Marine Le Pen. These are live pictures from Paris. We're bringing you there. Polling stations now open across the country, voters choosing from 12 candidates in the first round, but just 2 will go through to the runoff in a fortnight's time. Our Europe correspondent Nick Beek reports from Paris.
The fate of the planet was the theme of this big climate rally in Paris. But it's the temperature of the French public that's being taken this weekend. And many want something new.
This election is absolutely key for our future. This is the motto of this march. And it's key for social justice, environmental justice.
There's a feeling President Macron spent too much time on the Kremlin than the campaign trail, talking more to Vladimir Putin and not listening to the French people. All the while, the far-right candidate Marine Le Pen has been gaining ground in this her third presidential race, honing a softer image this time. But immigration and security are still at the heart of her agenda. Retired Secretary Janine tells us Le Pen is now ready for the highest office. And if you shut your eyes for a moment, can you imagine Marine Le Pen in the Élysée Palace as your president?
Why not? I think she would be not so bad as Macron.
With the very latest polls suggesting more support for Marine Le Pen, more people are asking whether France is on the verge of its own Brexit moment or Trump moment. In other words, a political earthquake, something that has far-reaching consequences, not just here, not just in Europe, but beyond. But Le Pen appeals less in cosmopolitan Paris, and Emmanuel Macron remains the front-runner in the national polls.
I will vote for him. I've seen his values, what he can do at the geopolitical level, how he runs the country, how he listened to the French and took care of COVID and dealt with protests. He's shown that he's a president up to the challenge.
In this first round, the French have many candidates to choose from, but only 2 go through, meaning lots of voters will have to think again in a fortnight's time. If the polls are right and it's between Macron and Le Pen, then what do you do?
Just not living in France anymore.
Seriously?
Yeah. No, really, the worst thing that can happen.
Did you vote for Macron last time?
Yeah. Yeah, but never more.
In France, unemployment is down, but the cost of living is rising fast. Can Emmanuel Macron hang on as his appeal seems to wear thin? Nick Beek, BBC News, Paris.
Well, let's go live now to our correspondent Anna Holligan in Paris. So, Anna, France braced for a tight race.
Absolutely, and you can see here we're in the heart of Paris, outside a polling station, and voters have been coming ever since these doors opened, and we've been speaking to them as they go in to try to get a kind of idea of what's on their minds as they cast their ballots. The first couple we spoke to here said they were voting for President Macron because they believed he deserves a second chance. He had COVID, he's been dealing with the crisis in Ukraine, and therefore they want him again. They want to see what he can really do for the country. And they said if Marine Le Pen does win, then they would actually leave in protest. Others have said if it is indeed, as Nick has said, these 2 are at the front at the moment, if they make it into the final round, there are some here who fear that the feeling towards Macron is so strong, there's so much animosity, the sense that he was off performing on the world stage, not listening to the concerns of voters. Whereas Marine Le Pen has been rebranding, trying to detoxify. She's been talking more about being a single mother, about breeding kittens, and less about those far-right policies that she still has, that she's so famous for. And that's helped to kind of soften her image. And the fear is if these 2 make it through to the final round, the fear among many is that she would actually take the presidency. She is closer than she ever has been in the past.
And does it boil down then to concerns in France, as there are in so many other countries right now, about cost of living, the day-to-day issues facing people?
Absolutely, yes. The last person we spoke to, actually, just before we came on air, was saying people haven't been listening to us. They haven't been listening when we say that food is costing too much, fuel is costing too much. And there was initially at the start of this campaign a big focus on the conflict in Ukraine. Of course, President Macron was one of the few leaders still speaking to President Putin as the invasion was happening. And a lot of people here felt left behind, felt as though their voices weren't being heard. And Marine Le Pen has been working tirelessly over the last 5 weeks, travelling around the country, making sure that she has a connection with the people who she believes she can now capitalise on their sense of being unheard at the polls. And I think things will change quite dramatically over the next 2 weeks, in between now this first round and the final vote on the 24th of April, because President Macron is acutely aware he needs to make more effort to try to connect with these people. Otherwise, this kind of complacency could really affect the final vote. And there is a lot of apathy here as well. About 28% of people are expected not to actually vote, and that could affect him too, because he really needs voters to come out if he is to maintain his position as the President of France.